Powerful collaborations, cutting-edge science, and curious minds coming together for a glimpse of the future. Stay tuned as we look at the latest updates on some of the most promising technology projects. Hello and welcome. I'm Peter Balint from Technikon, and today we look at the certMILS project once again. This EU-funded effort is researching ways of keeping certified infrastructural systems safe and secure. If we use trains or smart grids as an example, we'd quickly see that these systems consist of so many independent components that certifying their integrity as a whole becomes a mammoth undertaking. Using the existing MILS, or multiple independent levels of security platform, certMILS is shortening, simplifying, and implementing new certification methodologies with the ultimate goal of efficient and safe certification methods for systems across Europe. Today we speak with Jan Rollo from Sysgo. Sysgo is an organization that specializes in safety and security certification in many industries, including railway, automotive, and industrial automation. They are an active partner in certMILS, and today we get answers to questions like, what is a cyber-physical system, and what can be done to speed up safety certifications? Thank you, Jan, for coming on our podcast today.
Thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
To start today, if one was to look at the certMILS webpage, they would quickly run across the term cyber-physical systems. What is a cyber-physical system, and can you give us an example?
Yeah, that's a good question. So from my point of view, a cyber-physical system is a system which is controlled by a higher level of automation, so electronics, and is connected to another systems. And those systems I already explained as IoT, or the interconnection of those cyber-physical systems. So typical IoT system could be a server or a computer checking the status of cyber-physical systems, or sensors, single sensors, or maybe a railroad, providing information to end users, maybe to a manufacturing company about the state of the running system, or to the operators. And this is IoT. A cyber-physical system is a system which controls all the own parts. So you can imagine a self-driving car which controls all installed systems and maybe also provides information to third parties via connection, or maybe in future communicating with other cyber-physical systems. So you can imagine there could be also a flying system, which is a cyber-physical system. So nowadays the airplanes have already installed automatic pilots, so automatic software, which can be bypassed by the physical person sitting there, but the airplane is able to start and to land automatically, and communicating with the control stations, with airports, with other airplanes as well, partially automatically. So this is already a good example, and this is a system which introduces safety functions and maybe already some security requirements. Yeah, so this is all what certMILS is about. So I'll just add one more, because this is also one of the pilots in certMILS. So already known cyber-physical systems are running in operation in Europe are trains. So driverless trains. So it means we are talking about electronics on the train, interconnected with the wayside electronics and some dispatching.
So we could say that cyber-physical systems are machines that are basically controlling themselves.
Exactly. But not only machines. I don't want to limit this on machines, because we do not know what the future will bring. We even do not know whether the IoT and cyber-physical systems will be defined separately or they will grow together. That's actually the problem. Yeah, so that's what the market or the next generations of users will define. So just don't limit it. It's not a machine. It could be something more or something completely different, but controlled by higher intelligence. which currently is stored on some piece of silicon in form of software, but in the future it might be different.
So that's being very inclusive to what might happen down the road in the future, yeah?
Exactly. Yeah. So today we do not know what will come. We already have a defined levels of automation of such systems. We reach maybe milestones 1 or 2, but we are not talking, for instance, in the automotive area about fully automated systems. It's just not about the cyber physical system, which might be already prepared, but also about infrastructure, so the roads, the regulations, etc. So it's not just about the cyber physical system. You need the whole environment to be prepared for this.
Right. There's an industry saying which goes, never change a running system. I completely understand this sentiment. In a dynamic environment of embedded systems which are everywhere and constantly evolving cyber threats, one cannot really live by this motto. How is certMILS contributing to changing this way of thinking?
Actually, this is not about change of thinking. In reality, it's a mandatory requirement on some systems. So if you have a certified system, and now we are talking about safety, functional safety certification, you are not allowed to touch such a system, even not to change a bit on an installed software without recertifying the system. So never change a running system. You can do it if you would like to see a progress or connect the system on, let's say, non-critical systems or infrastructure. But for certified systems, you need to recertify it again and again and again, even if you are doing security updates. That's a mandatory thing. certMILS is trying to contribute with making the recertification more affordable. So you can imagine a piece of silicon running. Okay, let's come back to the cyber physical systems. I cannot imagine one manufacturer has under control the whole development and all the parts of such a systems, starting from silicon with some bootloaders, operating systems, application software. So we are here talking about dozens of suppliers, and the OEM just try to put it all together and get it under control. This is the current state. And certMILS is bringing pre-certified platform to be used for such systems where you can easily separate software from different manufacturers or with different criticality or with different requirements on safety or security. So we are here talking about new methods, how to recertify the system and make the recertification more affordable, so cost effective. With this approach, we also research new ways, maybe new chips or new software, new tools. So it's the whole environment, or let's say ecosystem. certMILS involves not only industrial partners, but also certification authorities, which is actually good motivation for us to contribute to such a project, because we get early enough feedback from the authorities whether our approach is correct or not. So to not be on a right track here will be really costly. So here with certMILS, we have 3 pilots and trying to certify it according to different standards with different authorities to prove whether our approach is correct.
And you mentioned that the recertification process could be improved as far as economics go. So if certMILS is in place and a success, then recertification becomes cheaper. But it seems to me also that this could present a huge advantage in terms of the time required to recertify as well.
Exactly. In Czech Republic, we say time is money. So it's again cost effect. Yeah, but it's all the time to market. It's really important. If you just you need to add more functionalities, or let's say some security feature or update which is necessary because some bug or security hole was found, and it's done on, let's say, non-critical part, you easily can recertify it, the whole system in few weeks, and it won't take years as the state is right now.
Right. Yeah, that sounds great. Now, let's talk about use cases for a little bit. certMILS is a project which has some use cases attached to it, and these are in the railway, subway, and smart grid areas. These are infrastructural things which most people can identify with. Tell us then how certMILS can improve or make a difference in these systems, and I mean in a way which will reflect the benefit to the EU citizens or users of the infrastructure.
European citizens should benefit in the future from having all the critical infrastructure under control of European authorities, not hackers. And I mean, this is the most important point. So the railway or subway will stay safe and secure, and energy will be available to the citizens. I can bring maybe one example from Czech Republic from last year, where we have been faced several attacks on hospitals, and those hospitals were not able to operate for several weeks. You can imagine in the pandemic situation how critical is this. So as a very first thing, what happened, that the regulation of a critical infrastructure changed in the Czech Republic. And now the authorities are starting to rethink their security strategy for this critical infrastructure. So maybe in the next project, we will add some medical systems as well.
That's a great example, and I'm glad that you brought that up. Part of your work is ensuring the reusability of artifacts, and I got that from the description of the project, this idea of artifacts. But what do you mean when you refer to artifacts, and why is this important to certMILS that these artifacts are reusable?
The artifacts are part of the package which is brought to the certification authority to convince the auditors about the safety or security of the systems. In our case, as we are a software company, we are talking about pieces of software which have to be defined somehow, typically by requirements. So you need to have a list of requirements for such pieces of software, and you need to test it whether it does what it should do. In some levels of safety or security, you even need a review of, let's say, or not involved persons, not involved developers, so some independent reviews. And all these are artifacts. So it's in addition to a software development, which is, let's say, 1/4 of the work, the remaining work are the artifacts. So you can imagine if you have for instance, Linux systems, you are talking about millions of lines of code, and you need to count like 1 day of work to verify for each line of code. So it's a huge portion of work done here. So the certMILS is coming up with a so-called compositional approach, where you divide the whole system to, let's say, portions which are let's say definable or which can be used separately. For instance, hardware independent code or operating system independent code or some communication stacks, etc. So you can relatively easily define such a piece of code, and you can certify them separately and reuse them. So this is, let's say, one reason why to make the reusability of artifacts available. The second point is there are different standards on the safety and security fields. We are here talking about, even our product is targeting like 10 different standards. So you need to prepare your artifact that way that they fulfill all of those standards if possible.
It sounds like that by reusing artifacts, the end result is that you're gaining economically and you're gaining time-wise benefits.
That's right. Yeah. So embedded systems are, or let's say cyber-physical systems, you can imagine they are coming or going across all the vertical markets. We have been already talking about automotive, railway systems, avionics, etc., or medical systems. And all the time, you need some control system, which might be similar to a system from a different industry. But each industry has own safety and security standards in most of the cases. So with certMILS, we are trying to develop an approach and artifacts that way that we are fulfilling the standards of several industries to make the certification cheaper. We are also trying to define the packages that way that the systems are portable to different platforms. So we are trying to define the packages in a way that you have a most reuse of the hardware independent packages to all of these markets.
And so this sounds like that with reusing artifacts, this just sort of aligns with the big goal of certMILS, which is making the certification process better, faster, cheaper, easier.
Exactly. Wherever possible.
Okay. Yeah. So let's look at the certMILS consortium. Did you have any kind of challenges that were exceptional or perhaps setbacks or situations where you had to change course a little bit? Anything significant that you could bring up at this point?
I'm not sure that whether we had really big challenges when not talking about a pandemic situation right now. Maybe the problem was with the hardware selection. Yeah, so I think this problem has the whole Europe, that we are depending on silicon manufacturers from Asia or United States, and we can really not ensure delivery in time or export regulation or such a stuff. So we try to find some hardware which is, let's say, more European and more under control of the European regulation, which was not possible, but we have been supported by NXP. So we have two demonstrators with power architecture, and I think there was also some demonstrator with ARM, and it was high demand on x86 architecture. So those three architectures were supported in the Work Package 5, which actually means that the Work Package 5 common criteria certification artifacts cover all those three architectures. I cannot remember any other big challenges.
Well, I guess that's a good thing. So certMILS will end in June, and that's right around the corner. So I wonder what happens at the end of this effort. Is there some continuation of the work in this area? Is there another project that sort of continues where you left off, or how does that go?
That's a good question. Good question, because I do not like discontinued projects or work to be finished and put in some folder and that's it. Yeah. So in this way, we already prepared some other projects where we can reuse the work done in certMILS. The good point is that we have visible results from certMILS already. So in our case, it means artifacts and certificates from authorities. For instance, last week, our Prague office passed the common criteria site visit, which means it's a part of the common criteria evaluation by German BSI with a positive feedback. So we hope this we will get a report until the end of the project. If not, nothing happens, because we need it anyway. We will use it for our next projects as well. So it's a must. It's a boosting industry, all the security aspects across all the industries in electronics or digitalization area is really important. So the results of the certMILS project will be used in future.
Well, that's great for the synergy in the long run. It seems like there's quite a bit of activity in the background, or perhaps things that people don't see. Are the results of your efforts visible on the surface yet?
They might be. Yeah. So I already mentioned the critical infrastructure and new regulations. So we have already pre-certified systems. And if, for instance, the railroad operators or the speedway operators will say, okay, on this speedway you can operate the driverless cars, but you need to fulfill these and these standards. We are prepared, and then it's visible. Yeah. Now the problem why all the hospitals were hacked or the pipelines in the United States, the only regulation valid currently is it's a criminal act if you hack it, and that's it. Yeah, but there's not the counterpart where you say to the operator, you need to ensure the safety and security. You are just saying by regulation to the hackers, it's a criminal act what you are doing, but you are not telling, because it's increasing the cost. There was not a way how to make the car or the pipeline affordable. It would cost like 10 times more. Nobody wanted to pay the money. But once it was hacked and you see the damages in billions, then there will be a pressure on doing it, let's say, more secure, more safe, and maybe certified.
Yeah.
And we have already pre-certified system which can be reused.
So great things have come out of certMILS so far, and there's not much more time in the project, but best wishes for a successful wrap-up, and thanks for coming on to talk with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
For more information about certMILS, go to certMILS.eu. This podcast has been brought to you by Technikon. The certMILS project has received funding from the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program under Grant Agreement number 731456.